Finally, we have some answers, but also we still have a lot of questions. Welcome back, witches. I was not expecting this to be such a deadly show, and yet here we are, Agatha All Along, episode 5, and it is getting crazy in this show. I don't know. Initially, I think when they announced the cast, I was excited, but I was also a little nervous because I just felt like, we're introducing a lot of new characters in this show, and I think that can be challenging. I mean, we all saw Eternals, or I'm sure a lot of people saw Eternals, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't see Eternals because of some of the responses that it got. That was a movie that basically had a similar task. It had to introduce us to a lot of characters all at once, all up front. However, it had to do it in a movie. And the one thing I'll say about Agatha All Along as a show is that each episode I've just been falling more and more in love with our little coven here. But it is, the Witch's Road is dangerous. It's a dangerous place. There's all sorts of dangers. We're going to talk about what's going on in this episode. I'm going to get into more specifics, which means spoilers ahead, although I have alluded to things, and we may have put clips that spoiled things a little bit. Sorry about that. We're going to actually talk about those spoilers now and get into what's actually going on here. What is going on here? Let's talk about that. So in this episode, we continue along the road. The Salem 7 have finally caught up. Looks like when we brought in Rio Vidal, they came in after her, and it's basically a chase at the beginning. We also get to see some brooms in action, or really sticks, but we fly on them and it's pretty fun. And then we fly right into our next trial, which ends up being Agatha's trial. And is also a very fun 80s style trial, which I really liked. All the matching watches, so cool. I did this like I was going to be wearing a matching watch with the witches. I don't know if you can just Photoshop a watch on my wrist. It's probably not a thing that we can do. I don't know if that's a thing we can do. It was very exciting to see the styling and those cool watches that they all have. It was just a fun episode in terms of the style of it. And I do like how, although this is connected to WandaVision, it's not really directly a sequel to WandaVision, I would say. It does have similar flair in the sense that each episode feels like we're kind of exploring a different time period in terms of the looks that we're getting and all of that fun stuff. Why Agatha's era was the 80s, I don't know, but I still love it. Just so we can use a Ouija board, probably. In Agatha's trial, she is forced to confront her mom, and who she obviously killed, as we know from WandaVision, which there's also a flashback to what happened here, which is helpful for those who may have not seen WandaVision but wanted to watch this show. In the end, she gets possessed by her mom. She is basically told that this trial just needs to end with her being punished, and her mom wants her to stay there with her and not let her leave, not let her complete the Witch's Road, and her coven actually backs her up. Alice actually uses her magic to try to save Agatha by banishing her mom from her. Agatha's powers mean that when she is being attacked, she takes in everybody's power, something she claims later that she cannot control. Whether or not that is true, I'm still not sure, but that's what she claims. And so she ends up taking all of Alice's power, and with that, her life energy, and seemingly kills her. And then in the end, there is a confrontation where Agatha is turned on, betrayed. I don't know if we'd say betrayed. Agatha just killed one of her own coven. So this feels kind of like a tit for tat situation, although I think there's much more going on behind it. But Teen decides to go against Agatha and seemingly takes control of a couple other coven members to get Agatha swallowed up by some quicksand on the Witch's Road, in essence, in a swamp sand, swamp juice, I don't know what we want to call this, and also gets the other members of the coven, while Lilia and Jen, the two that are left other than Rio, swallowed up by the earth. And Rio, we don't know where Rio is at the end. Where'd she go? I'm sure we're going to find out next episode, and I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. So that's basically what happens here. Of course, it also ends on a very interesting note with Teen seemingly having blue powers and also wearing a crown that looks an awful lot like Scarlet Witch's crown. And that blue magic looking an awful lot like Billy Kaplan, aka Wiccan's magic from the comics. This was an episode where we moved through a lot really quickly. And I do wish that this episode had a little bit longer of a runtime. It is a short episode. It does feel like a short episode. And it does feel like we're really rushing through some story beats. Not really some story beats, actually. Some emotional moments pretty quickly. Such as Alice's death, where Teen responds by saying, Alice, like, get up, get up. And I really felt like there weren't a lot of close-ups on the reaction that Teen has with Joe Locke, and I wish we'd gotten more of that because it kind of I felt an emotional disconnect to this moment, which is unfortunate because I did really like Alice. I did feel sad that Alice was gone, but I felt like this could have been a more emotional moment than what we got. Kind of similarly with Agatha confronting her mother, and I felt like that was something that also was a rushed conversation. Thankfully, Catherine Hahn is so good that just to hear her response to her mom asking how she's, still mad at her. Although to be fair to her mom, like Agatha did kill her mom. So I feel like she's there's some validation that I feel for her mom and like, well, you did kill me. But I even felt for Agatha in that moment just because of how good Catherine Hahn is, even though she wasn't given a lot to work with there. And then also, obviously, the response of her mother with, you were born evil, and when you were born, I should have basically killed you right then, which is pretty harsh and definitely hits heavily. And you also get to see it in Agatha's reaction. The moment still worked there, but it was like just barely working. And it's only because we have such skilled performers. I wish that some of these moments got a little bit more room to breathe, is what I'm saying. And it felt like we were speed running a bit to get through these story points so we could get to the end of the episode. So this, I would say, is one of the weaker episodes for me. That being said, I still did enjoy it, although I think my favorite episode still so far is probably episode 1 of this show. I haven't seen anything yet that's topped episode 1 for me, although I am enjoying the journey immensely and the theories immensely, which I do have some for this episode. I did like all the fun stuff with the brooms and kind of them talking about why they never like to fly on brooms and use that magic to fly around because brooms have basically been commercialized, and they talk about the connection to domesticity for women and how it's basically been turned into this whole thing that it's like, oh, women flying around on brooms, and they're like, oh, it's ridiculous. I thought all of that was very funny and was just very entertaining. And seeing the delight as well when Teen gets to see that he's going to get to fly too, and him and Alice kind of have this moment where they get to pair up to exchange brooms because that's how you imbue them with the magic to fly. Basically do this little maneuver where you circle around each other, you say some words, and you give each other a broom, and then you can fly with it. Was pretty cool. I will say that I'm also, I think, liking the depiction of the Salem 7 here. I kind of like that we're doing something different with them, ultimately. It is different from the comics. I do like that they shift into animals. I just think it's cool, and I like that they are the kids of the coven members, Agatha's original coven that she killed, and she decided to spare their children, and in essence their children ended up turning on her and trying to hunt her down, which honestly also makes sense. I am wondering though what's really going on here with the fact especially that Teen, who I believe now we can say pretty definitively is Wiccan, why that's really going down and what that's about. Is that about Alice's death? Or is it something bigger? And I think ultimately I would guess that it is something bigger. In this case, I think it could be that Wiccan is either working with the Salem 7. I think this is my favorite theory thus far. Or perhaps might be working or forced to, or something like this. There's some kind of deal, something. There's always a deal with Mephisto. something to do with Mephisto. I'm even starting to wonder if Rio might actually just be Mephisto. I don't know if Blackheart is actually going to be in this, or if we're just going to cut right to Mephisto. Unless Rio is Blackheart and is just working for Mephisto. I don't know. But I definitely feel more and more that there's going to be a Mephisto connection. I am wondering why Teen came here. And if he is Wiccan, like I expect he is it to potentially bring back his family? How did he survive? Is he reincarnated like in the comics? I have so many questions surrounding how all of this works. But I think next episode is when we're going to get a lot of those answers. So this is our time to theorize and put all our theories out, because next time they're probably going to give us some actual concrete answers on this. I love all the theories though, and I love thinking about who everyone could be. I was really actually thinking about all of the people that I could imagine, even though I was, at the end of this episode, I was very much like, oh, okay, so it is Wiccan, like we initially thought. We're back to that first theory, which is cool that we even got to veer when it felt so concrete that that's what they were doing initially here. I was thinking of every other person it could be. And I was even at one point, as I was just talking about all these other magical beings in the Marvel Universe who could potentially be characters that Teen could be, I was talking about just how I would love to see Wong in this show, because we haven't seen Wong yet in the show, and it's a magical show, and I just thought Wong's been popping up everywhere. It would be really weird if Wong didn't appear here, because it is like an actual magical show. And I was talking to Duck about this, and Duck was basically like, yeah, but the thing is, like, Wong isn't a witch, so he can't go on the witch's road. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Wong isn't a witch, so that could be an issue here. And then I thought to myself, and Teen is here, but that would really work if he was Wiccan, because I'm pretty sure Wiccan is the only male witch that I can think of in the Marvel Universe, at least the only prominent male witch. I was racking my brain to try to think of anyone else, and I couldn't. So let me know if you have anyone that you would consider to be a witch in the Marvel Universe who is a man, but I would say that Teen is the only one. And I think, especially for me, Teen comes to mind because that is a huge part, I feel like, of Teen's identity, this idea that he is a male witch, and I mean, also his name being Wiccan and all of that stuff. And it is something that people even discuss a lot online, like, can he be a male witch? Like, what does that mean? All of these things. So I think I'm really just gonna lock in that I think he's Wiccan. I think he could be working potentially with the Salem 7. Now, why he didn't just sell out the rest of the coven earlier on, I don't know. I do think he also has his own motivations for being on the witch's road, so I don't know if that was still part of the plan to get there for some reason. And I'm not really sure exactly what he wants, but it's clear that he wants something, because I love the conversation that we have with Wiccan and Agatha at the end of this episode. And yeah, I'm just going to call him Wiccan now. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's possible. And if I am, that's fine. But I'm going to lock it in because that's where I'm at in my brain right now. To me, right now, he is Wiccan. So Wiccan and Agatha have this conversation, and she basically says that he is like his mother, which I was like, wait a minute. So does that mean he is Wanda's son? And does that mean that she's figured it out? And I was fascinated. I was reeled in, and I love how he says, you know, is this basically how it is? Like, people just selling each other out just to get power. Like, that's not what this should be about. And she's like, oh, like, that's basically what it's about. And everyone has that. Like, what do you think you're basically like better than this? Like, what do you want here? And then betrayed. Agatha gets betrayed by Teen. The coven gets betrayed. And they get swallowed up by the ground. Also very Krakoa, I feel, you know, getting swallowed up by the ground. Remind me of the Krakoan pit. I don't think we're going there. Although I did have this idea that Rio Vidal might be Celine Gallio. I don't know. River of Life. And then I was just thinking how, like, Celine is like an energy vampire. She also sometimes likes knives. I don't know. This is very far-fetched. So take this theory with a big grain of salt, because it comes from a very weird place in my mind, I think, where I was just thinking about it. And I was also thinking they also both like wearing dark colors, but probably not right, that theory. However, you know me, I always have mutants on the brain. I'm always thinking of X-Men. But this whole episode did also make me wonder, you know, we've already lost Mrs. Hart, aka Sharon, rest in peace. And she's probably gone. She hasn't come back yet, so it doesn't bode well. We lost Alice. All we have left are Jen, Lilia, Rio, Agatha. Jen, Lilia, and Agatha have been swallowed up by the ground. And of course, then we have Teen. And I'm just wondering if this is going to be like, we're just going to lose someone every episode now, and no one is safe. And by the end of this, we might only be left with Teen if he's Wiccan and, you know, Young Avengers, which is something I've been saying I feel like the MCU has been building to for quite a while. And I'm excited for it because I do like the Young Avengers, and I would love to see that team assemble in the end as they've been slowly introducing them. We know Kamala's putting that team together. We know about that. I'm eager to see where we go next episode. Overall, I did enjoy this episode, but I do think it's one of the weaker ones just because we didn't give a lot of stuff time to breathe, and I feel like it's more a means to an end. It's more like we had to go through all this to get to what's next. This is like we're kind of starting to put the pieces together, and then we're going to get more of the reveal next episode, and then we're actually going to be like in it with almost all the pieces of the puzzle intact. That's my theory on how the show is going to play out. We'll see where we go. We have a few episodes left, so we'll have to see. But yeah, overall, I think I would give this one a 3 out of 5. It was still really fun, but I just feel like it could have been done better. I think the idea of the story is fine. It's just we didn't really give things a lot of time to breathe, so it feels rushed, and there's stuff that just doesn't land and feel as real in the show because we just didn't give her really a lot of time. But, you know, not every episode can be the strongest episode. Not every episode can be episode 1 for me in the show, which kind of came out and just set up this story and set up so many theories and so many cool revelations. And we got to watch Catherine Hahn go through this journey of self-discovery, which was very fun to watch ultimately. So here's hoping we get more Catherine Hahn in the next episode as Agatha, because I love her. Here's hoping we get to find out what Aubrey Plaza's Rio Vidal was up to, because love her. And here's hoping we get some concrete answers on what has been going up with Teen and what his real backstory is. That's where I'm at with this one. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Please do share your theories. Like I said, I think the next episode's going to be a lot of answers. This will be a good time for us to get all our theories out. Get them all out. And I mean, granted, we might still have some theories left over after the next episode, but I think a lot of them are going to be answered. There were also apparently Funko leaks, but I haven't looked at them. So if you're wondering if I'm guessing anything based on that, I've just been avoiding everything I can because I don't want anything to be spoiled for me as to who is who. I want to be able to just puzzle it out myself, whether I'm right or wrong. All right, that's all I have for this one. I'll see you next time. And until then, friends, stay nerdy. Bye.